An important bit of news today, we're going to break down multiple bits of new information that has just been released. The Diablo 4 expansion might be launching earlier than you actually think it is due to some clarity of when they said it was going to launch versus when it's actually being launched, if you're taking time off, etc. We're going to break that down so you know exactly when it's coming out. There are some free cosmetics coming out with the game too, we'll address here in the beginning. And also there's some Path of Exile 2 early access news in terms of how you can get into it and what's going to be available in content. So all that and more in today's video. Let's get going. Okay, first bit of news, there will be free cosmetics that will be launching for Twitch drops. I will be doing a 24-hour stream on the launch of the Diablo 4 expansion, so you can farm these weekly Twitch drops. You see there's Sorcerer, Necromancer, there's Barbarian, there's Rogue, there's Druid. Then there's also the Support the Streamer. 2 gifted subs gets you the horse, 4 gets you the horse plus armor. Now, what's interesting about this is these drops start October 8th at 10 a.m. Pacific. However, this is not when the actual launch of the game comes out. You would think that the Twitch drops would be at the start and launch of the game. It actually is launching a little bit earlier. Now, here's an actual map showing the launch times. If you look at this, this is October 7th and October 8th. Now, when they do these launch times, they say the game comes out October 8th, like they did with the June 6th when the game originally launched. They're always talking about when it's available basically for everybody. But if you look at this, the Pacific time here, October 7th, 4 p.m. PDT, meaning this game is going to come out for you earlier if you're in North America than you would expect. The Twitch drops start 10 a.m. on the 8th, but the game itself launches at 4 p.m. on the 7th. They also mention it's the last chance for the pre-purchase rewards. If you're somebody who cares about the wings or just cosmetics, basically, there's no other reason to buy this unless you just want the cosmetics. Pre-ordering does not give you earlier access than just buying the game when it's already out. So if you're thinking about doing a pre-order or something because you think you're going to get in at that October 7th time, etc., that is for everybody who just owns the game. You do not have to pre-order for early access. This time, there's also a pre-download. You can install it early in case you're someone who takes a long time to install a game or a bad internet or something like that. You can just download it early. It is now available on Battle.net, and October 5th, it will be available on console. So multiple days before the game's actually out. The campaign can be directly started, meaning if you want to make a level 1 character that can go straight to the new campaign because you've already played the previous campaign, you can do that. Now, there are some things that are locked behind the expansion. However, the things that are available to all people who still own just the original Diablo is the new reworking of the system, basically Paragon system, max level, new class skills for the classes that are already in the game, etc. The things that are locked behind the Vessel of Hatred expansion are the new region, Spiritborn class, the new campaign, the region renowned for the new area, makes sense. The rune words is an interesting one too. If you want to use rune words, that is locked behind the expansion. Mercenaries, Dark Citadel, the Undercity, and trading for the specific materials that come from the expansion. There's also a cat mount that you can earn from beating the Dark Citadel in the expansion, which is interesting. They mentioned like cosmetic armors before, but I don't think they actually mentioned the mount before, which is kind of dope because one of my feedback points when they were selling the mounts before was you should really add like free mount rewards for people that are beating your in-game content. So they kind of are. In other game launch news, Path of Exile 2 Early Access had a Japanese interview that got translated in which we got a significant update in terms of information about what's actually going to be available in the Path of Exile 2 Early Access release. So this is the article. It's on Game Watch, which you can tell it is a, a journalist website because it's just full of a whole bunch of fucking video game ads. Luckily, it has been translated on a Reddit post, and here is the actual breakdown. It says as follows: early access to this work is scheduled to begin worldwide on November 15th. We're going to have 3 acts and in content. So they're going to have There's 6 acts that are supposed to be in the game. The first 3 acts will be available, but also the in-game content, which is interesting. How is the in-game content going to happen at the end of halfway through the acts? Well, they could relaunch the campaign and make it where you have higher level difficulty as you go through. There could be a mapping system or something that we're not aware of, and you just go into maps after Act 3. We actually don't have any information on what the in-game of Path of Exile 2 looks like, but the in-game system is supposed to be in the game at least. As far as the cadence of release of the other acts, they say their goal is to implement all acts in about 6 months. There's no specific schedule, but they're going to use community feedback to help dictate this. What's interesting is in a rare thing for Reddit, you read the comments and people actually don't seem to care. They're like, that seems fine. I'm just going to play the game. It's ready when it's ready. There are some comments about some people being disappointed, considering that they've said in multiple interviews they expected the full campaign to be available in early access. As recently of June, there was some interviews kind of talking about how they're cutting back a little bit on availability. This doesn't surprise me terribly too much, to be quite honest, because when we went down and tested the game, we only were able to get through the first like 3. I think some people might have made it into partway into Act 4, but most people were only able to get the first start of the first few acts. They delayed a bit of the game because of WASD. So the first reason that the beta got delayed in Path of Exile 2 was the addition of WASD, and they realized with the addition of WASD, they allowed them to do a lot of the other things related to the skills and the movements in the game and how they could design the bosses. So they started to go back and retweak things in order to improve the quality of the game. Whether or not that has anything to do with the acts, I doubt, but that was the first original delay of the early access. Okay, so now the question is, all right, that's the early access. You want to play it. How do you get in? Well, the most recent information we have is another of these Tokyo Game Show Japanese interviews in which they basically said, early access is paid, but release is free to play. This should come at no surprise. This is something that has been stated multiple times. Now, the part that people are debating about is what is the price point going to be? I believe in one of the interviews they stated that the $480 pack is guaranteed, but not required. So it could be as cheap as $30. We don't really know at this point. It's also supposed to be cumulative, so if you're a Path of Exile 1 enjoyer who has played the game for a while and continually spent more and more on cosmetics, your cumulative spent on the account should get you in, or at least that's my understanding. If you're wanting the actual words he said, this is the translation here. We're going off Google Translate here, but it says, early access is paid, but eventually it'll be free, and I think a lot of people will play it, so we want to be able to accommodate it as much as possible. Again, no exact dollar amount. So your next 2 months of ARPGs is looking like this. October 4th, the embargo lifts, and myself, as well as all the other content creators, starts talking about reviews about what we think about the expansion, if you haven't purchased the game, whether or not it's worth your money. Then October 8th is the actual launch of that expansion, which will hold you over until November 15th, when we get the paid early access for Path of Exile 2, which will be the next 3 acts, or I should say the first 3 acts and the end game of it, which would then steadily release the rest of the game throughout the life of the early access. If you're looking for more Path of Exile 2 news, I want to do a shout out to my good friend Talkative Tree, a real positive guy that's just a joy to talk to, and also has good videos available that he talks about Path of Exile 2 pretty much on a daily basis. So if you're looking for more content around it, he's always uploading all of the recent news there. Highly recommend him. That's about it. So I'll see you October 7th for a 24-hour Diablo 4 expansion live stream, as well as you can subscribe to this channel if you want to see more information related to the Diablo 4 expansion when the embargo lifts on October 4th. That's about it. Thanks for watching. Love you all, and have a wonderful day.